Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for Monday, March 24th, 2025. We first have a subdivision authority meeting, so I'll call that meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried. Now, so just for the record, Councillor Sorensen is not able to be in attendance tonight. All right, moving on to item number 3, adoption of the minutes. Anything to add to that, Mr. Munshaw?
Yeah, minutes are in front of you as normal minutes, no adjustments on our end.
All right, any questions, concerns? I'm prepared to make that motion. Councillor Bruin?
I'm prepared, Mr. Mayor, to make the motion. We adopt the minutes of the regular subdivision authority, January 27th, 2025.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 4.1, item TT 25-0-001. Mr. Munshaw?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have in front of you a land use bylaw subdivision application, and it is TT 25-0-001 for 5822 57th Avenue. And here to present is Selena and Chris.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So before us today, we have a subdivision application. This is one of the more simpler ones we've had. They're looking to just subdivide a lot off of an existing lot. They currently have one building on the lot, and they would be subdividing the lot in half. When the subdivision is complete, the existing building would still meet all of the requirements of our land use bylaw, and the new lot would meet the requirements as well. We have added a couple of conditions in. One, that they would need to enter into a deferred or development agreement for the new lot to put in services, and they would also need to enter into an agreement to put an approach in for the where the existing building is, that lot. And things like stormwater management and all of that are dealt with at the development permit stage.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Seeing none whatsoever, so I'm prepared to make the required motion. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the subdivision authority approve. Oh yeah, are we approving? Okay. Sorry, that the subdivision authority approves subdivision TT 25-0-001 for part of Lot 19, Block 2, Plan 8211422 within the southeast quarter section 5, Township 10, Range 16, west of the 4th Meridian, civically described as 5822 57A Avenue, with the following 8 conditions as listed.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Ask for a motion to close the meeting, please. Councillor McLean, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on. We'll call the regular scheduled Taber Town Council meeting in order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Bruin?
I can move we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And on to item number 3, public hearings. We have 4 hearings today. Item 3.1, public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting. And I will call that meeting to order. Just advise that members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record, and also must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of any group or organization. Related to that amendment 4-2025, Mr. Munshaw?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in front of you today is that item 4-2025, and here to present on that topic will be Selena and Chris.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So before us today, we have our public hearing for a rezoning of some land on the south side of town. This was formerly, or is a park, or currently is being used as a park.
All right. Have you had any other contacts from anybody for or against in a letter format or phone call?
I have had a few letters, so
Okay.
would you like me to read them in at this point?
Sure, that would be appropriate, I believe.
So the first one it came to me. It says, "Hi, Selena. Thank you for the opportunity to provide feedback on the proposed reclassification of Plan 7810080, Block 54, Lot 1, from institutional recreational to residential comprehensive multiple dwelling district, so the R4 district. As nearby residents, we understand the need for growth and housing diversity within Taber. However, we would like to raise several considerations that we hope will be taken into account as the town moves forward with planning and development in the area. Number one, traffic and parking impacts. An increase in residential density will inevitably affect traffic flow and parking availability in the surrounding area. We request that a traffic impact assessment be conducted to evaluate current and projected traffic volumes, the suitability of existing roadways to handle additional vehicles, the need for any traffic calming measures, signage, and pedestrian crossings, the adequacy of on-site parking to prevent spillover onto surrounding streets. Number two, fit with the existing neighborhood character. The transition from residential or institutional land use to multi-unit residential should be sensitive to the surrounding built environment. We ask that the town ensure building height, massing, and setbacks are compatible with nearby homes. Privacy impacts, e.g., overlooking yards or homes, are mitigated through thoughtful site design, and architectural style and materials reflect and respect existing character of the neighborhood. Point number three, they talk about green spaces and recreation. Since the land was previously designated for institutional recreational use, its reclassification raises concerns about the availability of green space in the area. We encourage the town to consider requiring the developer to include accessible green space or a public park within the new development, ensuring recreational needs for both the existing and new residential residents are met, possibly through improvements or additions to nearby public facilities. Servicing and infrastructure. Additional residential units will place greater demand on the existing infrastructure. We request confirmation that water, wastewater, stormwater, and electrical systems have adequate capacity. Drainage and stormwater runoff from the new development will not adversely affect adjacent properties. That the impacts of the new buildings on wind noise will be considered due to the significant change in how it will flow through our neighborhood. And a construction management plan be required to reduce disruption during the build-out phase. Sincerely, Scott and Lisa Gillespie at 3910 53rd Street, Taber. The next letter. My wife and I reside at 5329 39th Avenue. A strong selling point when we were looking for a resident was the feature here of a green space, in brackets park, backing onto the property, only separated by a back lane. We are unable to attend the land use amendment meeting, but would like to voice our opinion on this matter. We are strongly opposed to any changes made to the designation of the parcel of land, as it would only increase noise, traffic, and sightliness of the area and may devalue our property. And this is from Y. Sorensen and B. Sorensen. The next letter. To whom it may concern, I have serious concerns regarding this proposed development. The green space is used by many people, including myself, to take our dogs for a run. We aren't allowed to go on the school grounds with them. There are also problems with parking already in the area. There is so little parking that if you have multiple drivers in your home, there isn't enough parking spaces on the street. We chose this area because it had a nice green space. Sincerely, Shelley Nakai. The next letter. Dear Town Council, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to express my concerns regarding the proposed development on Block 54, Lot 1. As a resident of Tabor, I cherish the natural beauty and recreational opportunities that our parks provide. The park serves as a crucial green space for our community, offering habitat for local wildlife and peaceful retreat for families and individuals alike. This potential construction would not only disrupt the tranquility of our neighborhood, but could also lead to the loss of valuable green space that many residents rely on for outdoor activities and relaxation. I urge council to reconsider this development and explore alternative options that prioritize the preservation of our parks. Thank you for considering my concerns. I believe that by working together, we can maintain the integrity of our community and its natural resources. Sincerely, Ivan Dick. Next letter. Hello, my name is Elizabeth. I live in really close to where the town is proposing to change the piece of land to a multiple dwelling district. I know there are always building and places needing to be built so people have homes. But this small piece of land is where the neighborhood enjoys family time. Yes, there is a school right behind, but many times when you want to take the smaller children out who are not in school to play, this is the area we find ourselves enjoying our quality time. Many evenings I see teenagers throwing a ball with their dog or a frisbee with a friend because that is our space. We have a small part of the outdoor life right outside our back door. Please don't build here. It will take away from so many special moments and memories in the neighborhood has built. There are other options, so please don't take our small space away. And this is from Elizabeth Gertson. The next letter. Land Use Bylaw Amendment 4-2025. My address is 5306 39th Avenue. I disapprove of this redistricting. There are many families that use that area for picnics, playing with children. A lot of families take their pets for a walk in this area as well. It's a quiet community over here, and I would like to keep it that way. From Daryl Christensen and Tricia Christensen. The next letter. To whom it may concern. To all it may concern. Hello, I am emailing you today to express my concerns about the plan to build on Block 54, Lot 1. As a resident, who would it be affected by this build? I would like to voice my opinion. Towns are losing these parks more and more, but the need for them is still very big. The park is a staple for our surrounding area, from family picnics to a place to walk and play with your dogs, and a safe place for children to play all year round. A big reason we chose to buy the house, our home, is because of this park. As we could picture our family growing here and love the idea of them having a nice big area to play in as our backyard is small. Having these nice open parks in town is one of Tabor's many charms, and it shows that we are prioritizing time spent outside along with helping local wildlife thrive. In conclusion, I strongly urge you to reconsider this proposed residential development. I believe that the project is simply not the right fit for our neighborhood. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Elizabeth, in brackets, Libby Dick. The next letter. I would like to let council know that I object to this redesignate of the IR to R4. I feel when house shopping you see a park that was designated in 1980, that is a park. It is a park. In fact, Ernest Myers Memorial Park. If this gets changed, all the parks in Tabor should be changed, and a notice informing future citizens that parks are not forever. A post on the website stating this. I honestly feel that Tabor could annex and plan a new area to be R4 with a plan citizens could support. The recreational park is a well-used area, and the loss will be sad for Tabor. And this is from Michael Shepard at 5317 39th Avenue. The next letter. Hi, I strongly disapprove of the new development. It's quite a nice neighborhood with low traffic. Kids are always playing in the green space, and we should not take that away from them. With a higher volume of traffic and more people congested in this little area, is not a good idea. Please do not build more houses in that area. Thank you. Have a great day. And that's from John Maserve. And then I believe this is the last letter. So this one is from Mr. Mark Hine. And he did forward me this letter. I believe he wrote it for when we removed the MR, but he forwarded me the same letter again for this meeting. Dear Mayor and Council of the Town of Tabor, The intent of this communication is to express my concern and opposition that the town's consideration for disposal of the above noted property for development purposes. I've been a resident of Tabor for the last 24 years, and my residential property is located within close proximity to the municipal property. My concerns are as follows. Why would the town of Tabor consider selling green space in a park? It's a beautiful, quiet park with trees, playground equipment, and benches. Selling this property would mean the removal of trees, playground equipment, and picnic benches. I use this park 3 times a day to walk my pets. I frequently see families utilize this park for picnics, etc. on Sunday during the summer. Children also use the playground equipment and park frequently. Number 2. Currently, there is an existing apartment complex southeast of me across the back alley. I do not like the fact that my property will be squeezed between 2 apartment complexes in the future. The existing apartment complex can be quite noisy at times, and my concern is that a new proposed apartment complex may produce the same results. Number 3. The new proposed development would be in close proximity to Westlake School. Is this something the town is comfortable with? This apartment complex will cause increase in traffic in the school zone. Number 4, parking. Parking is on the residential streets in this area is already at a premium. The apartment complex proposal will certainly not alleviate the issue. 5, property values. My concern is that with this proposal, the residential property values in the area may decrease as potential buyers see this proposed apartment complex as a negative being so close to their property. Number 6, during construction of the proposed apartment construction, road closures and noise levels would be a concern for residents in the area. Thank you for consideration in this matter. Thank you to the mayor and certain members of council who have returned my messages and spoke with me one-on-one and listened to my concerns. Kindest regards, Mark Hine.
All right, thank you, Selena. Is there anyone present wishing to speak against Land Use Bylaw Amendment 4-2025 for redistricting? Come on up.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for hearing me. I sent an email to Selena.
Sorry, sir, if you could just state your full name and your,
Oh,
if
sorry,
you're
sorry.
speaking for yourself or any
No,
organization.
no, I represent my wife and I. We live
Okay.
very near to that property.
And your name is?
My name is Bjorn Sorensen.
All right, thank you.
At any rate, I just wish to say that we sent an email to Selena on the same matter here, and that we weren't sure that we could be back in time for the meeting. So that's why we did it. However, we made it back in time, so I would just like to voice my concerns, or to repeat my concerns, shall we say. They are very similar to what was just read on the letters. However, I would go on to say that a strong selling point for us to purchase this property that we're in right now was that there's a green space immediately behind us, and which made it very attractive, of course. A new development would increase the traffic. It would certainly increase the parking problems that we have in our neighborhood, and it would also increase the noise for the whole area, including the construction as well as just general living noises, I guess. And our property values would also be decreased just by having an I shouldn't say unsavory, but something that's not in the primary, how should I put it, single family residences. They are much more attractive as far as future living, I guess. So I would just like to voice or add my voice to the against or opposed, shall we say. And that's really all I had to say.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate that. Anyone else present wish to speak against land use bylaw amendment 4-02025? Sure, come on up.
I was like, I'll talk to Danny. My name is Candy Marco. I live directly behind the park. I'm actually neighbors with Bjorn. I am totally opposed to not having it done. My husband grew up in the neighborhood, has lived there since he was 15. My kids have grown up and played in that park. All the kids that come there to play baseball, all those kids play in that park behind there. Because like they said, Westlake is the school park. It's too far away when you have little kids. So that's my biggest thing, and the noise, and we have enough, sorry to say it like this, riffraff coming from the apartment behind us, that we don't want another apartment building in there. I have a hot tub, and I don't want to look at another apartment building behind my house. I like to look out into the park. That is the one reason we bought his parents' house, was because it had the park behind it. So I'm not for you guys changing it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else present wish to speak against land use bylaw amendment 4-2025? Yes?
Hi, I'm Joanne, and my husband Carrie Shigemi. We live at 3922 53rd Street. We would be right across where the traffic would be going in and out. This was designated as a green space. Leave it as a green space. I'm sure none of you guys would want it in front of your place as well. We don't need the extra traffic. This is a school zone. We already witness near accidents because of the traffic in that area. And like they say, parking is a concern. So we are very much opposed to it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Sure, come on up.
Mr. Mayor and council member, my name is Luce Carlin. I live at 5224 41st Avenue with my wife. We lived there since 1981. We object of the new development for several reasons. One, property value. Next thing, our 53rd Street there is a speed zone now. And with extra people, they're not gonna slow down. And we got the signs there about parks and that don't mean a damn thing. Okay? There's little kids there trying to walk across, going to school. It's a speed zone. Next thing there is, we need a green space. Since we're that close, there's a lot of kids and young families living there that use that park. Picnics and things like that. So we oppose the new development of that section.
All right, thank you. Anyone else present? Yes, you can come on up.
Mr. Mayor, council members, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Linda Melicky, live at 5321 39th Avenue, and I am strongly opposed to the proposal. My husband as well, who couldn't be here today. Much of what has been said is our concern, property values, but mostly that park is used in a way to keep the kids off the street. They're doing something constructive in the park, and it's busy all the time. They play in the winter, the summer, spring, fall, it doesn't matter. That park is busy with the kids utilizing it. And the traffic, yeah, we don't need any more traffic around that area. That would definitely increase with a multi-purpose building back there. So other than what's been said today, I just have to strongly say that we oppose it. Please don't change our neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else present wish to speak against bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting? Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Jake Dingman, 5209 40 Avenue. I strongly oppose this development. It's the only green space on that side of the highway in this town. There's lots of green space on this side of the highway, But as everyone else has said, the children play there, people walk their dogs and what have you. And the beautiful trees, that canopy of trees in the summertime between the schoolyard and that park is quite lovely. And my wife and I enjoy going there. And so if you develop that, where's people going to go on that side of the town? They have to cross a busy highway to get to any parks on this side of the town. It's not right in any level. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against land use bylaw amendment 4-2025? For a second time, anyone wish to speak against land use bylaw 4-2025? And for a third and final time, anyone wish to speak against land use bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting? All right, seeing none. Anyone present wish to speak for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting? Sir, come on up.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, Town of Taber administrative staff, and members of the community. My name is Jason Melhoff, and I'm the CEO of Jayco Builders based out of Bow Island. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in favor of the reserve designation removal of the land being discussed. Jayco Builders has been a premier builder in the area since 2003 and working close to our agricultural, commercial, business, and housing community. Many of Jayco's staff and subtrades reside in Taber and surrounding area, some right beside the proposed land designation change. This makes Taber a local market for us, where we're privileged to work in and want to do what we can to help achieve the community's goals in the marketplace. Currently, for information, Jayco is building some affordable housing products in the town that consist but not limited to 3 8-plexes, 2 6-plexes, and 8 houses in the Taber marketplace. From my experience with any land use changes, it does bring important dialogue in setting such as this, allowing the community conversation to take place for and against, ultimately identifying 3 key points. What is the reason for the land use change? Who will be affected and in what manner? Is what is erected considered to be positive or negative? And then how does the change add to the betterment of the community? To answer some of those questions from my perspective, I'd like to touch on the Town of Taber Strategic Plan document of 2023 and commend the town's elected officials and administrative staff and community input for creation of a comprehensive document to grow the community in a healthy manner and to meet ongoing growth demands. Some key points that jump out to me that reflect the change of the land use being put forth in these lands today is development and to promote growth. In order to develop and promote growth, it is essential to utilize any infill lands where possible, which is the most cost-effective approach for a municipality to develop existing infrastructure, to efficiently utilize taxpayer dollars to generate a prescribed and measurable return. This is why I believe there is a land use change being proposed by the town. Another one from the strategic plan is to promote expansion of the variety of housing options in Taber. It does say in there to identify the missing underrepresented housing topologies. Based on meetings we've had with the town administration, there are still challenges with available rental product along with limited affordable housing inventory. In doing some search on an MLS today, Taber has 34 residential properties for sale, and if we change the search to housing between 125 and 400,000, there's only 12 properties available, which shows limited affordable inventory. In order to grow and attract more people to the town, the housing options are required. Next on strategic plan is identify locations consistent with the town's policies and bylaws for increasing housing stock diversity. From my understanding and talking with town administration, the Myers Park is underutilized and right beside a schoolyard. The town pays for upkeep costs and the land to irrigate to maintain. With the sale of the land, the town would create housing and rentals to help with occupancy challenges, while now generating dollars on a sale, tax-based income for property tax, economic growth for local jobs, which will benefit the municipality and surrounding area. The cost to irrigate and maintain the park would decrease. Next on strategic plan is establish relationships with affordable housing developers. Part of why I'm here today was due to the town actively following the short-term strategic plan goals by meeting with local builders and developers on the benefits to invest in the town and on creating affordable housing. As all builders and developers are approached regularly by municipalities to build in their community, the town of Taber, from my experience, has really done a great job in attracting many various companies to invest locally. I also think it's important for us to gain perspective on what constitutes as affordable housing these days, as there's many misconceptions that are the same as low-income housing, which is a subsidized program by the government. In affordable housing, it is defined a housing where combined households spend no more than 30% of its gross income on shelter costs, including rent, utilities, and mortgage payments. This usually is based off the median income of a household in the census area. These days, many families and single households, individuals struggle to find affordability, basic needs such as food, clothing, shelter. Together, we can creatively find solutions such as the repurposing of a park or land to help some of those locally or wanting to be part of the community on the housing challenges. As many of the builders have met with the town and expressed their interest in building on infill lands, we identify the following reasons why we believe this particular land use change is beneficial for the community. One, it's close to proximity of schools, the existing park that's there, shopping in various shops. Many households these days have one vehicle and require walkability for a family member to access services in the area. This allows for more affordable product class options, inclusiveness for a resident to the community to have a better quality of life. Two, being an infill property is identified as underutilization by the town, allows dollars to be generated when monetizing the lands. There's also a large economic benefit with new development in the municipality that has a positive effect on business. Three, developing on the outskirts of a community carries more risk and cost for a builder in many cases, which is challenging as well for banks or institutions that finance many new developments or projects. Infill limits risk for new development in many cases. Four, a newer product built in an aging neighborhood will generally lift the value of surrounding properties. Five, with new affordable infill product class options, this allows families to remain together when you have an aging parent that can be in a more cost-effective housing solution to remain close to their adult kids. Or on the other end of a spectrum, for a young family starting off, they can take steps to owning their own place. Six, when the Myers Park footprint, with it being so large, there's plenty of room to accommodate a mixed class of housing units, while also retaining a community-owned park space. And then seven, have here on timing. I believe timing is of the essence to build with federal political unrest and geopolitical issues growing south of the border. We find ourselves in some uncertain times on product class increase. Each year that goes by is far more costly to build and buy products. I've learned from many of my mentors over the years to build now as the price continues to climb each year. Those municipalities that can unlock lands that can be developed in an affordable manner for affordable products will prosper their community. In closing, I want to thank the town for the opportunity to work with you on many past successful projects, and we hope to be able to work with you on further solutions to solve housing challenges, goals noted in the strategic plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else present wishing to speak for bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting, second time? And anyone present wishing to speak for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting a third and final time? All right, seeing none, could you get a motion to accept that for information, please? Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts for information the input received at this public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025 for redistricting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. And Mr. Munshaw?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for everybody that was able to attend today. Anybody that did speak for or against, there is some young ladies out in the lobby that would just like to get your proper name, spelling, and your address so they get it correct in the minutes. We're not kicking you out though, please. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for attending. I will hereby close that hearing. But just to reiterate, this also will be coming up for a potential second reading as item 6.1 on the agenda. We have 3 other hearings to go through before we get to that, but you're more than welcome to stay if you so choose, and or talk to Selena and anyone else available for that purpose as well. Selena's just seated in the chambers as well. All right, thank you. Moving on to item 3.2, public hearing for DP-25-022 for a restaurant. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this one is for a restaurant in the location by the Starbucks.
All
And
right.
here to present that will be Chris and Selena as well.
Right, first off, I guess I better call that public hearing to order. And once again, say that the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for direct control development application 25-022 will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record, and also must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of a group or organization. All right, Selena,
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
good afternoon.
So we have a public hearing for a development permit application that's going to come up later in the meeting for the development of a restaurant. This will go inside an existing building, but because it is a direct control district, we hold a public hearing for it.
All right, and just to confirm again, any correspondence, contact, letter, email, and/or telephone contacts?
Mr. Mayor, no, we did not receive any communication on this public hearing.
All right, thank you. And is anyone present who wishes to speak against direct control development application 25-022? Anyone present who wishes to speak against direct control development application 25022 a second time? Anyone present wishing to speak against direct control development application 25-022 a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Anyone present wishing to speak for direct control development application 25-022? Anyone wish to speak for development application 25-022 a second time? And anyone present wish to speak for development application 25-022 a third and final time? Seeing none, all right. I will just ask for, all right, a motion on that. Councillor Renford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that council accepts for information the input received at this public hearing for direct control development application DP 25-022.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimous, thank you, and also hereby close that hearing. And moving on to agenda item 3.3, hearing regarding 25-025, call that public hearing meeting order. And once again, offer the members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for direct control development application 25-025 will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record, and also must state if they're speaking for themselves or on behalf of any group or organization. Mr. Munchell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the next topic is the multi-district, multi-unit dwelling and up in the Meadows. And this one will be Selena and Chris again.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So before us today, we have another public hearing. This one is for a development permit, 25-025. This is in a direct control district as well. This one is the DC4 district. And we hold a public hearing so you can hear any comments or concerns and take those into consideration before you make a decision on the application.
All right, thank you. And once again, any contact, letter via email and/or telephone contact for or against?
I did speak with the developer about this one. They had no objections. That's the only contact I've had for this.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak against direct control application 25-025? Anyone present wishing to speak against direct control application 25-025 a second time? Anyone present wishing to speak against development application 25-025 a third and final time? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak that's present for application 25-025? Anyone present wishing to speak for development application 25-025, excuse me, a second time? And is there anyone present wishing to speak for development application 25-025 a third and final time? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion in that regard? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can put my 2 cents in, I guess.
All right.
I move that council accept for information the input received at this public hearing for direct control development application permit, development permit 25-0025.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And also close that hearing. Fourth and final hearing for the day. We'll call item 3.4, we'll call that public meeting to order, public hearing to order. And once again, members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for direct control development application 25-026 will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record, and also must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of any group or organization. Mr. Munchausen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 3.4, this is a neighboring property, the one you just looked at, and still in the Meadows. And here again is Selena and Chris.
Selena, you're up again.
Again, good afternoon, Mayor and
Good
Council.
afternoon.
So, just as Mr. Munshaw had indicated, this is in the same area. In fact, this is next door to the previous public hearing. Same concept. It's up in our Direct Control 4 district. Therefore, we hold the public hearing, so any of the neighbors can bring any concerns or comments they have forward. You can take those into consideration before you make a decision on the application.
All right, thank you. And once again, any written comments, email, letter, and/or telephone contact, direct for or against?
Again, just with the developer, Douglas Bergen, for this area.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone present wishing to speak against Direct Control Application 25-026? Anyone present wishing to speak against Application 25-026 a second time? Anyone present wishing to speak against Development Application 25-026 a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Anyone present wishing to speak for Direct Control Application 25-026? Anyone present wishing to speak for Control Development Application 25-026 a second time? And is there anyone present wishing to speak for Direct Control Development Application 25-026 a third and final time? Seeing none, ask for a motion in that regards. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts for information the input received at this public hearing for Direct Control Development Application DP 25-026.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And also hereby close that hearing. And moving to item number 4, adoption of minutes. Item 4.1, minutes of regular meeting of council, March 10th, 2025. Mr. Munchausen.
These are your regular minutes of council for March 10th. No other changes on our end.
All right, thank you. Any questions arriving? Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on March 10th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item number 5, business horizon. There are none on item 6, bylaws. Item 6.1, second reading for land use bylaw amendment 4-2025. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is 6.1, and it is the second reading of the land use bylaw for 4-25, which you've already seen the people earlier tonight, positive, negative. It is your chance to make motions from there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Munson. And thank you again, once again, everyone that spoke against or for in relation to that today, earlier at the hearing. And I believe I said this originally, but I have some real concerns personally about the green space, lots of green space in the memorial, Ernest Park Memorial, attached to the history and with all that. And I know there's some potential to have some form of a park involved as well, which is great, I guess, in some ways as an option. But it's definitely impactful in my mind. I would certainly be not in favor if I was in that neighborhood as well. And I understand completely where everybody's coming from in that regard. We do have limited green space available in the whole community, so that's obviously a concern. And there is limited availability in that regard, particularly on the south side, has also been pointed out. And as much as we're pressured to have other housing and other development for housing and the capacity we're requiring in that regard, it's difficult to maintain a balance and keep everybody happy as well in that regard. Also, so it's a little bit of a dilemma scenario in that regard as well. But I think looking at the whole picture with the history and everything attached to that, there are definitely other areas that can be looked at for development. And as the developer also indicated, there is other development going on with his company and likely be more in the future as well. So I would not be in favor of going forward with this at all whatsoever. Certainly interested to hear any other comments from council as well. Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your comments that you made. I think from my Myself, I think I would rather see the motion on the floor before we discuss. So therefore, I'm going to make the motion, Mr. Mayor,
All right, very well.
that council give second reading to bylaw number 4-2025 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020. And I reserve the right to speak last on this particular motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very well, absolutely. All right. You do have a motion on the table. Counselor Bruin.
Question, Mr. Mayor. By giving the second reading, we can pass the second read tonight, but we still have a third reading that would have to be passed at a future date, correct? So by passing this motion tonight, moves us one step further down the line. It's not meaning that we're going ahead with the development yet.
That's correct. It does have to have 3 complete in favor readings, absolutely. Mr. Monshaw, just for clarification.
Yes, Councilor Bruin has it correct and the mayor have it correct. You have to have 3 meetings before it can move forward fully. This is the only second reading tonight.
All right, very well. All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Counselor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question for administration. Some of the concerns that we heard tonight were regarding parking, traffic. Are some of these issues spoken to in the amendments?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, through to Councillor Firth. So many of those issues would be spoken to at the development stage. Traffic assessment, impact assessment, or something we ask for at the development stage. Stormwater management plans, again, at the development stage. They can also be kind of included in a higher level plan, in it, like an area structure plan, but we do not have one for this area of town. We're currently in the process of trying to get one for some of the areas in the southeast. But most of those concerns would be addressed at the development stage. With this particular amendment, we are looking just to rezone to allow for those residential uses in the area. The current zoning would allow for group style homes. So think of Clearview Lodge. Like that would be allowed in an IR district. So, and it's fairly large, things like that. But it doesn't allow for like private style residences. What the R4 district doesn't allow for is single family homes, but it does allow for a wide range of other types of residences. It's not just big massive apartment buildings either. So it's a variety with a little more density and a little smaller lot size requirements.
All right, thank you, Councilor Bruin. Or sorry, Councilor Renford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. When I ran 2 years ago in by-election, or when I ran before, lots of the public talked about housing. I'm a landlord myself, and constantly I hear the troubles of rent being up so high. I understand that's at a cost of a green space in this discussion, and makes it very, very tough. Going back to what the mayor had said, it's a very, very tough situation. There's lots of construction on the south side. We're in the need for rental properties. There is not many out there. So it's a very tough decision when we need green spaces and we really, really need housing.
All right, thank you, Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what has been said. I understand a lot of the concerns that residents have brought forward, and I thank you for coming out and for voicing your concerns. We're in a tricky spot. We know we need more housing. We know we have the ability to put it in a particular spot, but it's hard. We don't want to negatively impact the residents around it, but at the same time, we want to ensure that we can continue to grow and prosper and that everybody in this community has a safe and affordable place to live. I'm sure that all of you love your neighborhood for a lot of reasons. And I just ask that maybe you would consider allowing more people to come and join your neighborhood.
All right, thank you, Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank the gallery once again for making their presentations. I also think that obviously there's going to be an effect if you build something on a green space. I've been led to believe, and I do believe, that the developer is proposing to leave some green space. I don't know how much, but apparently considerable, whatever that means. And just because this second reading is passed, does not mean at all that this will proceed, because the development permit has not been issued. There's all kinds of conditions, I'm sure, to be attached to that. So I want to set your mind at rest somewhat. At the same time, I fully understand that when you build something, you're going to lose green space. That's just the way it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also grew up over in that neighborhood and currently live on the north side of town now, but it's a hard situation that we're in because council gets a lot of pressure to have more affordable, more housing, more stuff available for those that, as the developer put it, lower income families, and they need to be within reach of the schools, of parks, of amenities. And so if we just push them out and they're too far away, then that's really hard. And that puts too much pressure on the lower income families. And so when we're trying to accommodate people that have the lower incomes, we need to have them closer, and we're really restricted in the amount of area that we have available for us to do this. So on the one hand, we really don't like getting rid of green space, but on the other hand, how do we accommodate these people? Where are we going to put them, and how do we make it so that we can include them in our community? So that's kind of the dilemma that we're facing right now, is where is the best place to put them, and to make more so that there are rental properties that are available to these people. So that's kind of where we're at, and it's a really hard choice that we're facing right now. But we really appreciate you guys coming and telling us your comments and concerns, and we will definitely take those into consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, thank everyone for coming out. You did open my eyes up a little bit to some of the concerns over there. What the other councillors have spoken to, I somewhat have to agree. We need more housing. With the new development that's happened over by the Walmart store and the new stores that are opening, that's probably increased our workforce by 150 or so. And they all need places to live. And if Tabor's going to continue to grow, we're going to have to face some hard realities. But I'm in favor of the motion of passing the second reading, and hoping that perhaps we can get a little more information about what size of green space will be left and things like that before we pass the third and final motion. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we've heard from everyone, unless Councilor Beckett had anything else to add. You want to be the last to speak? Councilor Beckett?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I'll see that. I think it's been said. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to action items, item 7.1, extended producer responsibility, EFR update. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to talk about this one, this is residential recycling collection, and to walk us through this will be Lisa. I might just need a second for the gallery to clear.
Sure, yep.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
Exciting world of recycling. Yes.
Changing gears, shifting gears, yeah.
So we've been doing in some way, shape or form recycling in Tabor for many years now, whether depot or that kind of thing. And then 2016, of course, to the blue carts. There's many aspects of it that municipalities across Alberta have been struggling with as far as collection costs, giving the residents something to collect it in, collecting the cart, transporting it to a MRF, which is a material recycling recovery facility. And then, of course, paying them to tip it, to dispose of it, relying on them to actually have it end up in the next part, you know, an end user, someone who's going to actually turn it into something else. There's been a lot of issues with that full circle. So the Alberta government has stepped in, and they have now passed regulations for the extended producer responsibility, or EPR. So they set the regulations for all of the producers of PPP, or single-use plastic, paper, and packaging products. Those are the ones that they're mostly focused on capturing, so that they have that turn into an end use. So much like they've done with paint, household hazardous waste, tires, batteries, motor oils, they've now put Alberta Recycling Management Authority, or ARMA, in charge of issuing bylaws, enforcement, that kind of programs to capture those and work with municipalities to decrease the cost on the municipalities themselves and put that cost onto the producers of the product. So that's a lot of information. What that means for Tabor is, so currently we pay a contractor to collect our recycling. That will not change, except for we won't be paying them. Circular Materials is a company that Alberta Recycling has contracted with to liaise with all the municipalities and contractors in order to have recycling services in the first phase, all the municipalities that have programs already, which is Tabor included. And then next we'll be getting services for all the municipalities that don't have curbside collection, or small rural ones that don't have depots. So having it available to all residential across Alberta. And then next after that, hopefully they'll move into commercial, multifamily, that kind of thing, with different, they don't have carts, they don't have room for, you know, that kind of thing. But, so for Tabor, we were actually really fortunate that our contract with our recycler contractor was up. So it was relatively easy for us to switch because Circular Materials is handling all of that. Our residents' collection will not change thus far. It'll still be every 2 weeks. The only difference is for issues, the contacts will be changing slightly. They can still phone the town, and we will be partnering with Circular Materials, migrating our app and their app so that there can be that continuity of service. But if there's an issue like enforcement issue, people aren't recycling the right things, that kind of thing, then that will be handled by Circular Materials and not the town staff. There's a couple of exciting things for us as far as, one, we'll have an operating deduction or reduction in our operating budget because we won't have that contractor cost anymore starting in April. But they'll also be compensating us because they know that we will still be doing promotion, education, handing out the calendars that we hand out annually, doing social media, education at schools, that kind of thing. So we will be compensated for our time for that. So that'll be a little bit of revenue to help cover some of the commercial costs and things that aren't covered by the recycling utility fee. Our depots, because that's currently captured in our commercial recycling contract because it's the big bins, we'll still have those costs. So they'll be compensating us for depot costs as well, monthly and annually, which will be nice because it can, historically the commercial costs have, both commercial and residential have been kind of subsidized by the garbage utility fee. So it'll kind of right size that a little bit for us. And there'll be a reduction in staff time because we won't be doing like the delivering of the blue carts, repairing of the blue carts, replacement of the blue carts. That'll all be done by Circular Materials and the contractor. They will be purchasing our carts because that is our capital asset. The majority of them are from 2016, so they're almost life cycled out, like amortization. But they will be purchasing those from us. We haven't set on actual contract for that or pricing yet. I just have kind of a guesstimate on that, depending on the age of the cards. So that'll be finalized. But so far, we've got most of the details done and signed off on and ready to get going. There will be a discussion that with the fee bylaw, because of course this will be affecting those utility rates, but that can come through finance in the next meeting, hopefully. Yeah, reduction, because we won't be paying that cost anymore. So the residents, therefore, we can have that discussion. But that pretty much sums it up. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Lisa, for your very comprehensive report
You're welcome.
on a very boring subject.
It's exciting. So.
I guess from what my information that I've gathered so far, there's some communities in the area that already implemented some of this. For example, I think the city of Lethbridge or the city of Calgary, one or the other, are reducing their collection fee by as much as 3/4.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact amount that they reduced their recycling fee. Theirs was a lot higher than ours to begin with. We didn't up the recycling fee when we brought carts forward. We kept it the same as it always had been before 2016. But they had just reached an earlier decision on that. Across the board, EPR doesn't start until April 1st.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up though, but I know I've read some discussions from different municipalities that have already talked about this.
Yeah.
And I was astounded by the fact that there's so much, a huge reduction of the fee. I hope we can follow suit. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for your enthralling discussion on recycling. The key part of this, so we didn't raise our rates when we started the recycling, correct?
Correct.
So to encourage people to recycle, we kept our rates quite low. So we probably won't see a whole lot of lowering of our utilities, I wouldn't think, but we'll see some. We can't expect as much as 3/4, but
Well, we have separate fees though. We have the commercial recycling fee, which wouldn't be affected by this yet. Hopefully in the future that will. So our recycling fee was always a community-based share approach. It wasn't, so no commercial account pays the true cost of their recycling. It's a shared cost across the board to keep the cost low. So same can be said for residential. It's not the true cost of that recycling collection. So we should be able to see a substantial decrease in that separate $4.19 per month.
okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay, thank you, Lisa. That's great. That's a lot of information to go through there, but very informative. Absolutely. Thank you.
Sure you have no more questions?
I just need a motion for information purposes, please. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts this report as information only. Thank you.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 7.2, Health and Safety Policy Review. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you. So this is one of those annual review policies that we seen many, many times before. This one happens to be in the health and safety, and Grace will be coming up to walk us through that and the changes.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So in the attachment for the health and safety policy, you'll see the highlighted changes. So those paragraphs have had wording changes. Essentially what we've gone through, we recently had our internal core audit completed. And some of the things that came back or came out of that were some changes that we wanted to make to the health and safety policy just to better strengthen our core requirements. So that's what you're seeing there, and I am available for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? None whatsoever. All right, someone prepared to make the required motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts the health and safety policy C-4 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Grace. On to item 7.3, DP 25-022, Unit B 550846 Avenue Restaurant in Approved Shopping Center. Mr. Munshaw.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So you heard about these back in the public hearing. This happens to be the restaurant back over around Starbucks. And to walk us through that again is going to be Selena and Chris.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So we have a development application in our Direct Control 2 district. This one is going to be going in an approved shopping center. The building already exists, so it's a permitted use, which is why you'll note that you have kind of two options. You can approve it as we've presented it, or you can approve it with an amendment. They meet all the requirements. They have two signs, one on the front, one on the back. They would meet sign requirements with those because they have 3 roadways, so they could technically have more signs. Parking requirements were all done with the shopping center itself. And other than that, there's nothing really crazy about this one.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make the motion that council approves development permit DP 25-022 for a restaurant located in an approved shopping center in Unit B at 5508 46th Avenue, Lot 23, Block 21, Plan 1410557 with the following 18 conditions.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table, Councilor McLean.
I just want to say I'm in favor of this, is that it's not pizza. It's something else. Ice cream is always welcome in my mind. Anyways, I just wanted to make my 2 cents. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Selena. All right, on to item 7.4, DP 25-025, Unit 102, multi-unit residential, 4 units. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you've already heard about these earlier this evening, and these are the ones up by the Meadows. They're going to be in conjunction, one after the other, this first one. But there is something a little different about these. It's actually the motion is down in the alternatives, and you'll see the 3 processes. And Selena and Chris are going to be here to walk us through both, and they both look the same.
All right, thank you. Selena.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So before us, we have an application for a multi-unit residential building at what is Unit 102 Condo Plan 2510388. So this multi-unit residential will have 4 units in, so it's equivalent of a 4-plex. This is up in the Meadows, which is a direct control district. So this particular direct control district was designed to permit and regulate a comprehensively designed manufactured housing community under a condominium plan specific to a 60-acre parcel. So there is a comprehensive plan for this. It was designed to all be modular homes. In the past, we did add in the use of slab-on-grade homes in this district, and you've seen a few of those come through. Those have a very specific definition. They're kind of designed so that they still fit in with the manufactured homes of the area. This is the first application we're seeing for a housing type that's not one of those types. This is a discretionary use in this district. So when making decisions on this, we're taking into consideration use, how it'll affect the neighborhood, will it be a nuisance, any number of things. We have not made a recommendation. We would like to have you to have discussion and determine what you think the best path forward would be. So this particular property will require a 123% variance to the height. So the maximum height out there right now is 4.5 meters. This unit will be 10.2 meters. This is not the unit that is out there. This is next to that unit. So it is actually taller than that building. Okay? Just to give you some ideas, because unfortunately there is a building out there that exists, so you can definitely have an idea of what the height would be. With this particular property, there's a few other minor variances that would be needed related to the parking, specifically with the parking that they're proposing to put on the north side of the property that's along 72nd Avenue. They have it going right to the property line, which means it won't meet like the 0.3 meter setback. The parking requirements for this district are pretty specific, and they say that for like a manufactured home, you must have 2 parking stalls. But because this is not a manufactured home, we've reverted to the parking requirements we would use in our other districts. So they would need to provide a total of 6 stalls because they have 2 units upstairs with 2 bedrooms and 2 units downstairs with 2 bedrooms. Sorry, 6 stalls is not correct. It's 2 for up and 2 for down, so 8 stalls altogether. I thought it was... Hang on, I've put it in here. I should read my notes. It might... It's 1 bedroom. 6 was correct. I was correct the first time. Sorry. I've looked at a lot of applications in the last few days. So those particular variances come into play. So we're thinking back to the idea of how does this affect the neighborhood? How does this parking affect the neighborhood? Once we have these large blocks of parking, then there's no real parking along the road that can happen as much. The other concern that was brought up is this neighborhood was designed to, again, be those modular family homes with a 3-cart system for pickup, 1 garbage, 1 recycle bin, 1 compost bin. With these units, that would mean that you would need 4 sets of bins. So that's 16.
6 sets. Right?
Nope. There's 12. Yeah.
There's 4 units, just to clarify.
4 units times 3.
It's only
is
4
12.
units. It's 4
Correct.
units. Okay.
If they had 5 units or more, then they would be moved to like a dumpster style collection, usually commercial collection. Lisa does look after that. So they would, if they were going to do a dumpster for any of these lots, they would need to provide us some sort of location where that was going to be located. Does it work for the town? They might have to arrange for pick up like our other units where there's 6 units or more. Lots of times they either do a dumpster, and if the dumpsters don't work for the town, then they have to arrange for like commercial pickup. They have commercial accounts. So if this were approved, there is a condition that they would need to provide us a plan for how they're going to handle garbage pickup, because 12 carts is a lot. So, and then you've got people parking, and where do you put the carts? And on garbage day, how do you back in and out? So there's a variety of things. So those are all things to consider. Yes. So the other interesting factor with this particular area is I did kind of a little research to try to figure out why it was a manufactured home community. So part of it was to do with affordability. And so in this case, the concept of doing the fourplex or a 4-unit building would probably increase the affordability, and it would fit in line with that. But the other reason why it seems to have popped up is when doing the initial Meadows development, there was a geotechnical report done. They did a number of boreholes, and there is a high water table over there. It ranges anywhere from 1.2 meters in depth to, in a few spots, 5 point some meters. So we would want to see, because these have basements, full basement, like a basement. So we would need something to provide us that these are a suitable location for a basement. There's something called a soil bearing test that is often required, particularly for the building permit side of things, to make sure that the foundation is not going to be undermined by the conditions. So a lot of that stuff, we would probably, if somebody were doing these in the future, we would actually insist at the development permit stage that we have some sort of test to show us that it's suitable for a basement. It's the middle of winter. Well, we're spring now, but the existing, what's out there, was dug in December, January, possibly. Groundwater is frozen, so I don't know if it's suitable or not. I can't tell because it's still a little early in the year. And then the few times I've been out there, there's been snow, so if there's been water, it could be the melted. So we have no idea if it's suitable or not at this point.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Selena, this, so I'm clear on this, I have two parts. There was no permit applied for at all for this building.
Correct. This is a discretionary use in a direct control district, which means the only people who have the ability to provide a permit to them are council.
Yes. So to further that, I'm really disappointed in this. You give a man an inch, he'll take a mile. And the developer knows better than this. He's a good developer and a good person who's doing this, but boy, he's pushing us. Like, I'm really disappointed that he built this building without any permission. What you say about the high moisture levels there, we could see major cracking in this foundation as soon as it warms up and the frost actually comes out of the ground. He went about this all wrong, and I'm really disappointed he did this. And I don't know what we can do. Short of telling him to start over.
So I did talk with our building inspector to ask a couple of questions. So with high water tables, sometimes there's extra things that need to happen for the building permit process. Possibly engineered foundations, and those are site specific. You can't take it for one and keep using it throughout. They have to be specific to each site. Often when there's a high water table, apparently the footing sizes will change and things like that. So they've gone ahead, they've put in a foundation, and if we approve it here, they may get to the building permit stage and still have to make changes because, we don't know, because they've put the cart before the horse.
Right. Thank you. Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm somewhat confused. Follow up on Councilor Bruin. The building that's presently there, there's a stop work order on it, I believe someone told me.
So there are two sites. So this is the northern site that has a foundation but no building. And then there's the next development permit that'll come before council is the building that's constructed or framed. It has a foundation and is framed.
Yeah, thank you.
Neither of them have a development permit and neither of them have building permits.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right, sure.
So it is indeed a fact that council has to approve a direct control development. I know that, but so is it indeed a fact that this particular developer started building without a development permit, obviously?
Correct.
And now how are we trying to fix that?
So a stop order was issued because as the development authority, so the CAO, the director, or myself do have the ability to issue one of those.
Yes.
And that's who it lies with for a stop order. So a stop order was issued and it just kind of stays in limbo until a decision's made. If you were to not approve this, they would have to tear it down. And if they do not do that, then we can carry out a stop order and it would go on the cost of the tax roll. If you approve it, there's another number of things that can happen.
Sure. Councilor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Follow up. This is pretty serious, right? Is it true, though, that what are the ramifications for the town of Tabor if this building collapses? Who cares? It's not our building, it's their building. Is there any responsibility on the part of the town of Tabor to make sure that this is the proper way to go about this, engineering-wise, construction-wise, and all those things that go along with that?
So there's two aspects that the town has jurisdiction and responsibility for. One is adhering to the development districting and those conditions that are bylaws that have been created by council. And so they need to be enforced. And the second part is the town has responsibility for issuing and maintaining building permits which relate to the National Building Code of Canada so that future residents, owners, can buy that property and feel reassured it was constructed properly and to code, which means it's safe. So the town subcontracts that work to Superior Safety Codes, but we have the responsibility for that. So often what happens is developers are not permanent fixtures. And so if there is a lawsuit resulting from some discrepancy or issue that the homeowner has, it often, because we have the deepest pockets that may not be technically correct, but they typically come after the municipality because we're there and we're still there a year down the road. So an example of that would be Paradise Canyon in Lethbridge. They're still arguing about that. There's still arguments in City of Medicine Hat for developments 10, 12 years later. The developer's long gone. One way that I would, it's a dilemma because the building exists, but the role of council in this case is to act as the development authority to ensure that developments that are approved follow the rules. In this case, what makes it a little bit more complicated is we don't have a finite set of rules. And so from a planning perspective, I would encourage you to think about this as if there was no building there. How would you proceed? Would you allow the variance in height? Because that's a planning issue, not a building permit issue. The planning issues are the variances that are being asked. Some of them are appropriate, and that's why administration doesn't make those decisions. We apply the rules, follow the process and procedures, and then governing bodies like a council, in this case, would decide, would that be an appropriate use? And you would have approved it, and then it's just being built. And then we would hold them to the standards. So maybe that allows you to make it a little less complex.
All right, thank you, Councillor Rufford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if we had passed a permit and there was no building there, we would have discussed the variances, right? Now, if the permit gets passed, the administration still looks at all the problems, like you're gonna look at the soil, you're not gonna just let it keep going. You guys would put to the standards of building code and you guys would go that whole way, right? So if it was done improper, it could be tore down regardless of this decision. We could say, yeah, okay, do it. Administration and it looks at it, sees that, no, what they did isn't working, and it would be tore down or it would have to be redone, right? Right?
Yes.
So then the big thing, I guess, I wasn't thinking was the variances. So with the variances, them are just, we made that decision based on, like you talked about the soil level, not doing basements and stuff like that. So if we say, yeah, and you guys, the administration looks at it and says that, yeah, we could do basements, our variances would have changed. We would have probably done we might have done a higher variance. If the variance was only based on having modular homes, if the plan was we were gonna do basements, would we have changed, would we have had a different variance?
So we typically would come to council and tell you what the existing standards are from a planning perspective in that zone. And then point out how this particular development permit application doesn't fit, and perhaps at times provide a recommendation. So we have provided recommendations in the past on slab-on grades because they were in character. They look like a manufactured home. They just have a slightly different floor elevation, and that came forward because of accessibility issues that a particular purchaser of a lot said, could I do this? Council said, under the circumstances, yes. So that you allowed that variance, and then we incorporated it into that, and stick building was another option. So those were accepted and from council as approved uses. So when others would come forward, we would typically tell you, this has been done 2 other times or 10 other times or something, to give you the background and the relevance, so that ideally you hear us provide that background and that you can make your decisions with all the best information that you have. So the other part of your question was on the building permit side. No one can build a structure in Canada without having a building permit, and that building permit process guarantees safety. So, and that includes, so we don't expect, houses don't collapse, but safety is a little bit broader interpretation. In that instance, we would have a question on the groundwater table, where that is in relation to the elevation of the basement, because typically you don't, some pumps are a mechanical workaround to fix a problem that wasn't foreseen. We don't typically like to fight against nature because you always lose, and then you get flooded, and so it causes trouble. The soil, geotechnical issues with the soil, we've done that for manufactured homes and for slab-on grades. The footprint is very light on those, and the piling system that are standard on manufactured homes is completely compatible with all of the land out there. This is a slightly different use. So in that building permit process, we would typically ask for stamped engineered drawings, and they would ask for a geotechnical report in order to base that. So that's what we would do going forward. So the council is concerned with development, and administration will deal with the safety and code issues on the backside. So anything you do today doesn't preclude us from putting conditions on the development permit and to say that you must get a building permit, and to get that you need to generate this information.
Sure.
I guess more for counseling, right? When we sold this land to this developer, right, it was not for this use. Does this change, what it's worth? So it kind of changes the whole ball game. There's a little bit there, so something to think about.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckery.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, thank you, Mr. Regan, for the answer to my question, which was the town's potential liability, basically. And I knew the answer to it, but I wanted it to be read in the record, because I think it's crucial. And I want to remind council, just because we approve a development permit, like Mr. Regan just said, and Celine just said, doesn't mean this thing is going to go ahead, because if it doesn't meet the criteria regarding the building permit, hey, here you go. So I have no problem with passing the development permit portion, then the town administration will do its job. I'm convinced of that, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a problem passing the development permit because of the way you went about this. We know nothing about this slab of concrete that's on the ground. There's obviously no permit issue, so it hasn't been inspected. We don't know the thickness of it. Like you say, we don't know the water table. We know nothing, which you will find out if we pass it, I understand. But just the idea of the way they went about this is easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission kind of scenario. It's true. And it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. We allow people just to go build and then say, oh, well, and to be honest, it looks terrible out there, this big mound of wood sitting in the middle of single level houses.
So from a planning perspective, which is what the development permit is about, we do have penalties when people don't follow the rules. Built into the fee bylaw, we will apply those. And if the proponent doesn't like it, they can come back to council and ask for forgiveness in terms of that. So we do have mechanisms in place to encourage people to do things correctly in the correct order. And there are some penalties, but they're not meant to be punitive. And so the real planning issue is whether, if none of that existed, would you approve the variances that this developer is seeking? And if the answer is yes to that, then that part of the process, you're fine with that kind of activity going out there. And then the developer has got another one beside it. That's the one you see, is the next development permit. So while I hear what you're saying, and you can factor anything you'd like into your decision as a council, we as the planners would say that typically we wouldn't take that into account whether we brought something forward or not. We're try and be, we follow the processes and procedures that council has prescribed to us. And so these variances are outside of our administrative permissions that you've already given us. So we have to come back to you and ask you the question, will you issue a development permit?
And that's a very, very good point, Mr. Egan. Like, if he had come through the proper channels, we could have addressed all this first, then decide if we wanted to do it. That's happened, and now we're deciding if we want to do it. If perchance we do go with alternative one there, where we do not approve the development permit, can he appeal it?
No. Council direct control is by council, and it does not have an appeal. He could appeal a stop order. So he could have appealed the stop order that was issued. And if we had to issue, say, another stop order in order to have the building removed, he would be able to appeal that. He could attempt to appeal this based on a limited number of factors such as jurisdiction and a few other minor things. Like it would have to be like, maybe it should have been the MD of Tabor that should have heard it, or maybe, you know, the AUC should have been the deciding body. But he can't, he couldn't appeal based on the fact that you didn't give him the variance. Really very limited on what you can appeal direct controls through.
That was a key question for me. We have a letter to whom it may concern that they approve of this, or is the developer satisfied with this?
So the developer did sign off on the architectural controls, but the developer is not the development authority. He is a party with a pecuniary interest is the way
Yes.
to think about that.
That's what I was
So-
thinking. And then when he bought this part of the Meadows, he knew all the restrictions. I'm
Correct.
sure that was in the contract.
And they did do a consolidation and a subdivision of these. So they took a number of titles and consolidated them and then re-subdivided them to create these lots. So at the time, we did know that the intention was probably for a more denser type of housing.
Single level.
Ultimately, it comes into the developer is fine with it, but does this meet the intention of the district, and is the variance reasonable in your opinion? If it is not reasonable in your opinion, and it would cause an undue nuisance or any of the other variances, then those are valid planning reasons why you could choose number one. If you don't think that their variances are unreasonable and wish to grant them, then you would perhaps go with number two or number three.
All right, thank you, Councillor
If I
McLean.
might add just a clarification
Sure,
of
yep.
background, sorry. When the initial transaction of the land swap was done many months ago, we were aware and were made aware that the developer, the owner of the new lots, would take 4 of the lots, the corner lots, and consolidate them and look at building multiple door units. He was told that he would have to go through these processes, but like normal, there wouldn't be any unreasonable withholding of permissions. The second thing is he also made himself clear that he intended to look into doing basements at that western side of the property where the land elevation is higher. And so even if we have which we don't, a flat water table, there's a possibility of getting into the ground on that west side to some degree. It would have, we told him, you have to do exploration, you have to establish where the water table is, you have to do your due diligence and convince us that it won't cause problems to future owners when they build and sell it. And then, like Selena said, and all of a sudden it's springtime and the water table is 3 inches below the surface of the land. The water table varies greatly around Tabor. And so they are site-specific. And so it is appropriate to keep an open mind and ask for information on specific sites. And we did that and allowed the landowner, in this case, we were aware, I guess, so for background information.
Thank you, Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am opposed to this simply because of the planning side of it. I think it looks out of place, and also with the garbage pickup, I think that's an insane amount of garbage and all of those carts that have to be then coordinated, and they're just going to be in the way, and parking, all of those things. I am opposed to this development permit.
All right, thank you, Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the intention of the Meadows was to increase housing and to increase our stock of housing. So this certainly does that. The way it was done is not ideal. But the fact that there's development happening, it's going to increase our housing stock, those are all good things. My concerns, though, is if we pass this, does this encourage other developers to ask forgiveness rather than going through the process as laid out? And then also the concerns around that Councillor McLean brought up, density and parking, it wasn't, the design initially was not for multi-family dwellings. And so even if they managed to put all of the parking spaces onto that property, which is going to be a tight fit, it kind of seems like we're cramming something onto a lot that wasn't designed for that, in a neighborhood that wasn't designed for it.
So just, again, some background. There were 3 lots consolidated into the 2. And so there were 6 parking spots in that same place, and that's what the current developer is suggesting. So that's kind of equivalent. The garbage is a real issue because there would have been 3 sets of garbage containers, and now there are 4. There's ways to mitigate that with, we can choose, or council can choose to say, administration go and resolve that by doing bins of some kind, and then the developer, if he wants to proceed with this, has got to figure out a way to accommodate those more commercial bins, and so now you've got 1 pickup in it. The development is intentionally, the roads are narrow, again, because every linear foot of something costs money, which ends up in the lot costs. And these lots are 35% less than any other lot in town because of those accommodations. But they do create congestion and some issues. There are always trade-offs. And so I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Celine?
Yeah, one thing. So one of the comments that you had made was about that asking permission or forgiveness. That really should not ultimately be part of your decision-making process, because I don't know that that is a valid planning concern that would hold up one way. So I do completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm concerned about the precedence that it sets, that it's kind of signing off on something.
We would suggest that if you wanted to address that concern and provide more deterrence, that you would increase the penalties in the fee bylaw for people not complying. And you can, sky's the limit, you can do anything and everything there. And that would be the appropriate place to start, if you felt that we were trending in a direction that you didn't want to trend.
All right, thank you.
The current penalty is 2 times the fee plus $200. And then in this case, because they need a variance, I could put another $600 on, plus so much for each unit. And so it worked out to about $1,600.
All right, thank you. Councilor Renford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the public hearing, I listened to a lot of people tell us what was right planning for the town of Taber, right? And I went back and said, housing's a big concern. You have to tough it out for the betterment of town. So I'm going to go, like with Mr. Councilor Beckering always does, make the motion so we can get going and talk about it in the motion. I'm willing to make the motion that council approves development permit DP 25-025 for multi-unit residential 4 units at civic address yet to be assigned. Unit 102 condo plan 2510388 with the following 18 conditions.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Renford. There are 6 people sitting around here, lay people. I'd like to hear from the administration your recommendation, please.
So we've intentionally avoided making a professional recommendation on this for a reason that's actually that's substantial, and that in a direct control district like this, where you are the development authority, you're kind of providing the professional recommendation to yourselves, regardless of whether you're lay people or not, because it is appropriate to make adjustments when the balancing of different interests is such that on balance, you're going to allow a specific instance. The districting is the general guideline, and it applies to 80% of things, as you've seen. But in specific instances, it is appropriate, and that's why we don't make those decisions, for example. And in this case, we shied away from a recommendation because this discussion would generate in everyone's minds whether, on balance, this proposed, which is something new and requires variance, is acceptable or is not acceptable. And that kind of decision is absolutely not appropriate for administration. That's too much authority vested in us because we don't represent the community. You do. And so in this case, it's way more important that the community input and recommendation by council is the governing decision-making body rather than, and so we know we have a tremendous amount of influence when we do make a professional recommendation, and we have background, we have weeks to craft these things, and you have minutes to hear them and consider them during this council meeting. And so in this case, we think it's the most professional and appropriate thing to do is to hold and avoid that. But we apologize.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure,
One
you
short
bet.
follow-up
Yep.
comment.
Yeah.
Spoke like an almost politician.
Almost, capital A.
All right, so just to clarify this, with the, item 3, you're talking Councilor Renford, correct?
Yeah.
With the 18 conditions. So just looking at the number 2 for one of the conditions, the development conforms to district requirements of direct control. It's not, right? So how do you get around that with that condition?
So, Mr. Mayor, so it says that, and then below it does put the variance in. So that's why the variances are included in that top portion. It conforms with it, and then there's the variance.
Okay, so then that didn't really need to be in there, I don't think, did it? I mean, that's a little bit confusing to me, but.
Right.
I can understand how it is a little confusing. So, it does otherwise need to conform with the district. So the
Yeah.
only exception that's been given is whatever the variances are. Otherwise,
So the
it needs to still
Item 3 and
conform.
4 kind of supersede number 2,
Yes,
which should have been there and always has
Yeah.
been there, it's still there,
Yeah.
but wasn't complied with.
We'd say we're technically correct,
Yeah,
but
yeah, right, okay,
it can be
okay.
confusing.
Fair enough,
And they
thank
have
you.
to be read in collaboration with each other.
All right, yeah, fair enough, thank you. Councilor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reading through the recommendations here, the following numbers, the 10 through to 18, you do cover a lot there. The soil bearing tests specific to the site, drainage. You do cover it a lot, and he cannot do anything until all this is met, right? It's
Correct.
It is on hold until he does all this stuff.
correct. You'll notice there's a prior to release condition. So that would be before we give him a physical copy of the permit. And then there are prior to continuation of construction conditions. Those would need to be met as well before they begin building again. These are conditions that, if this were any other application, like the slab on grade, they're normal to what we would make, like the utility right of way was a request from TELUS, so they'll need to deal with that. Stability tests, all sorts of things like that, drainage and whatnot. Drainage should actually be in place in this area as part of the original thing, but because they're doing something different, I don't know if we need to do changes to that. Building permits are standard. Usually you get the building permit before you do anything. And then the infrastructure, it's not really our infrastructure, but we still go out and do an inspection, and we do a post-inspection to make sure they've cleaned up all the materials, the house numbers and things are in place. Then there's some talking about the parking requirements. If they want to do any extra decks or accessory buildings, anything like that, then they need additional development permits. If anyone wants to run a home occupation out of here, they would need to do a permit. I don't know that they would be very limited on maybe they're just doing a home office, but they couldn't have visitors coming. I don't know how you could accommodate the traffic of that on top of, so all sorts of things.
And just to clarify, you talk about the building code requirements could also add to whatever their findings are with what's required, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Those are a different set
Yeah.
of requirements that
So
are linked to the development permit.
Everything done on the building that's erected now, I know we've jumped ahead of one here, but everything done on that building will be inspected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
No occupancy permit will be given
Until
until
everything.
all the normal inspections are done and the construction is past the requirements of the National Building Code.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, do we have a motion on the table? Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. What's that? Yeah. Okay, on to item 7.5, DP 25-026, Unit 103. Mr. Mushaw.
This would be the one to the south of the property we just talked about, and the conditions will be the same thing and the alternatives for the recommendations. And Selena and Chris are here probably to answer any of your questions.
All right, thank you. Selena?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
I guess we've kind of gone through all this already for the most part.
Yeah, I
but is there
feel like
anything-
this
any-
little
any
deja vu
additional-
here.
Any additional? It's virtually the same, other than this is the actual structure that's there.
Yeah, this is the
Compared
actual
to the
structure that's there. This structure is actually a meter shorter than the other structure will be. So
Okay.
the variance isn't quite as much for the height. This one does have a couple extra variances for the parking. There's a setback variance for both sides of the parking because it won't meet the 0.3 meters, or roughly 1 foot from the neighboring property lines, and their whole lot frontage will be parking, so there's a parking variance for the extra 60% of that. And then garbage and all of that are a concern here because here it is all parking, so, and there's no
Okay.
alleys or lanes.
Just a question, has there been anything from the residents out there at all with that concern?
I did not receive anything from any residents out there. There's not a whole lot. The majority of the lots that we would send to would either be owned either by the developer in the town or the actual developer of these properties.
I think there's a handful of owners out
Yeah,
there.
there's a handful of
yeah,
owners, but
right.
we send to everything within
Okay.
100 meters. So
Right.
there's a few people that might
Okay.
be out there that wouldn't have got. And because we use 100 meters for everything else, it would be, I don't know if unfair is the word, for me to extend it on this one. So if the standard is 100 meters for something like this, I use 100 meters.
Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you. All right, anything else arising? All right, so I'm prepared to make a motion. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prepared to make a motion then that council approves development permit DP 250-26 for multi-unit residential, 4 units at Civic, address yet to be assigned. Unit 103, condo plan 2510388, with the 18 conditions as stated.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Yeah. All right, on to item 7.6, community garden water supply flooding repairs. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This situation is in regards to a repair of a fence through to the community garden area, and Chris is here to talk about that topic.
All right, thank you.
This is a request to fund the repair of a fence that on a property adjacent to the water line, new water line that was put in to go to the community garden. And there's some variation in the fence now. And the homeowner has approached the town with the quote that was attached and has asked for the town to cover those expenses.
All right. Thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This thing is on the north side of town here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Was there ever a permit provided to these people to have a community garden? I think somebody just started it. Is that not true, Chris?
I don't know the history behind that particular community garden location. It's certainly an odd place, but it had permanent water supply by the town. As of 2 years ago, that failed, and they went through last summer with neighbors
Hoses,
contributing
yeah.
water over
Yeah.
their fences to keep the garden going, and certainly we had lots of feedback from the community that uses that location,
Really?
that they are really in favor of it. Yes.
Thank you. That's all I want to know.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make the motion. Council directs administration to provide $3,885, including GST, to the affected property owner of water damage caused by a water leak in the supply line to the community garden at Prairie Sunset Avenue with funds coming from capital reserves.
All right, thank you. I'd just like to ask Mr. Monshaw if you're aware of any finance involvement with this, for one. I think I understood there was some insurance involvement with this at some point, so I was a little surprised at this capital reserve format. I guess, Mr. Monshaw, are you up on that?
I would have to transfer that over and ask if Mr. Orwa would be available to speak on it, or if Chris
Okay,
has
sure,
any
fair enough. I don't know.
information on that.
Like I said, it's, I know there was some indication there was insurance involvement somewhere back.
Yes, so our normal process is the town carries insurance, and whether it's vehicle damage in a pothole or something like that, typically we have the claimant make the claim to their insurance company, and then the insurance companies talk to each other, and it's resolved that way. In this case, the homeowner followed that process. Their insurance company declined to cover any aspect of it, of this, and that's why it's before council at this particular time.
Okay, Mr. Orwa? Yeah, yeah.
What happens is if there is any damage anywhere, because
Okay.
as we deal with the premium side and we make sure that we deal with the claim.
Yeah.
So if there is a damage, if like this was a fence, their insurance they should have filed the claim, then it will go to their insurance. Their insurance will get into contact with the town insurance. Then we will send us the claim. Then we pick it from there. We start tracking the claim. But this particular one, I never saw anything. I never
you
received
didn't?
any
Okay.
claim. So there must be a reason why it was not sent. Because anything, we have a deductible of 1,000. So anything
Okay.
above that, we try to send it through insurance because we pay premium for it.
Okay, so it would cost us $1,000.
Well, if it was sent to insurance, but in this case, they didn't send it to insurance, so we are not going to pay any premium.
So the homeowner did involve their insurance company.
They
The
did,
insurance
no.
company, it's a underground water is complicated and expensive to prove. You could spend $20,000 on engineering fees and exploration to get to the $3,800 repair on the fence. And so
Okay.
the insurance company declined to cover the homeowner. So therefore, that insurance company didn't come to our insurance company. So there is no claim, valid
No.
claim on our
So
insurance.
I guess they could do the same, right? Our insurance company could refuse that also then.
Kind of by default, they already have because they weren't involved. So the
Okay.
homeowner's insurance company won't cover them any
Right,
part of it.
yeah, that's strange. Okay, Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having said all that, though, we can still apply to our insurance company for reimbursement, subject to the deductible of $1,000. So I don't quite understand why, just because the homeowner's insurance wouldn't touch it, why the town wouldn't pursue an action. Why not?
More insurance expert.
I think that is correct. We could put the claim through insurance, and normally from the past history, we put such claims if the other insurance does not appeal to our insurance, we put a claim to our insurance, and then it is when our insurance refuses to pay the claim, that's when we come to plead with council. So we can still pass this through insurance to try.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How much will that increase our insurance rate for a $3,800 claim? I would say with an instance like this, it's better to fix the fence, as honest gentleman whose property it is releases us from any further damages. That maybe should have been an amendment to my motion that the homeowner releases us from any further, how would you word it, any further claims or so perhaps someone would like to make that amendment to my motion.
All right, Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a friendly amendment to add that the homeowner releases the town from any other further claims against us for the repair of his fence.
All right, I'm just just trying to, is that a proper requirement, Mr. Munshaw? That seems like it's, the homeowner would not be aware of that unless he happens to be watching our live stream. But,
If somebody else has a better answer to it, I'm kind
So
of stuck on that. I'm not too
council
sure
can
if
make
that's the
any
best.
motion that they would like within the legal framework. And certainly you could make reimbursement of the repair of the fence contingent on a release, which would be kind of normal business practice.
Okay, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's perfectly reasonable that we would ask the homeowner to sign off on the damage that's caused by the town of Tabor by way of a signature saying no more liability. Very good point there, somebody.
Okay, yeah. I think Councillor Brune started it, but Councillor McLean followed up. But I guess if that's kind of what's been agreed upon, and so, but we don't have any recourse then to go back, Mr. Roy, if we go this route through insurance, or do we?
Maybe not, we don't know.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
for insurance, if we decide to go through insurance, all they will tell us is that we can pay or we cannot pay.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But on the other side, there must be, to stop that liability, there must have some condition we put to that gentleman or whoever that person is, that
Right.
thou shalt not come back
Yeah.
to the town.
Okay, okay, that's a good way to put it.
But even if this one is approved, we can still get reimbursement from insurance.
Okay, okay, that's what I was trying to clarify. That's good to know, yeah. Great, thank you. All right, we do have a friendly amended motion on the table with some Councillor Brune assistance. Motion on the table, any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. All right, moving on to item 7.7, road license agreement, Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a road license agreement that you've seen just a short while ago, back in February, and it was stated for a wrong date. So it is in front of you actually to extend the date to a correct time frame, which we originally set up for a 4-month now to a 4-year to a 5-year. It's a little bit better on our side, and if you have any questions, Britt can walk us through the questions on that.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? All right. I don't think I rescind that. Oh, sorry, yeah, okay.
Do your own. I'll rescind Carly's if she rescinds.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Brune.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that council rescinds resolution 70-20/2025, moved by Councillor Bruin, that council authorizes renewal of the road license agreement between the town of Tabor and 1979356 Alberta Limited, operating as Phoenix Signs for the portable sign located on the road right of way for 46th Avenue, Highway 3 West of Barton Drive, under Plan 9510236 and 6987 JK, with an expiration date of February 28th, 2029, and directs the mayor and chief executive officer to sign the renewal documents.
All right, thank you. Rescinded motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Councillor Firth?
Thank you. As much as I love talking about road license agreements, I hope this is the last time we get to talk about this one. I move that council rescinds Resolution 71/2025, moved by Councillor Firth, that council authorizes the renewal of the second road license agreement between the town of Tabor and 1979356 Alberta Limited, also known as Phoenix Signs, for the portable sign located at the road right-of-way for 46th Avenue, Highway 3, west of Barton Drive, under Plan 9510236 and 6987 JK, with an expiration date of February 28th, 2029, and directs the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign the renewal documents.
All right, thank you. Rescinded motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Next required motion, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council authorizes the renewal of the road license agreement between the town of Tabor and 1979356 Alberta Limited, OA Phoenix Signs, for the portable sign located on the road right-of-way for 46th Avenue, Highway 3 west of Barton Drive, under Plan 9510236 and 6987 JK, with an expiration date of February the 28th, 2030, and directs the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign the documents.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All carried unanimously, thank you. Councillor Renford. Were you first?
No, I didn't.
Were you first?
No, I don't even have it.
I just saw two greens.
I don't even have it up.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read
Okay,
it.
Councilor McLean.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council authorizes the renewal of the second road license agreement between the town of Tabor and 1979356 Alberta Limited, also, or OA Phoenix Signs, for the portable sign located on the road right-of-way for 46th Avenue / Highway 3, west of Barton Drive, under Plan 9510236 and 6987 JK, with an expiration date of February 28th, 2030, and directs the mayor and chief administrative officer to sign the renewal documents.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to item 7.8, information for council. Mr. Munshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an FCS municipal report, and I believe you have a member on council that would be able to talk about that.
All right, thank you. Councilor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Mr. Munshaw, yeah, I'm on the board. You can read for yourself what it says. I'm going to explain it to you. Right? So I just want to remind council, though, next week on Wednesday, which is April the 2nd, we have our regular board meeting at 4 o'clock and an all-council meeting following that at 6 p.m. at the Coaldale Hub. I would encourage all council members to attend and let Mr. Munshaw know how many people, so he can call Mr. Zach tomorrow and say how many people are coming. Correct? Thank you.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Any other questions? None whatsoever. All right, thank you, Councilor Beckering. And no motion required there. All right, moving on to item 7.9, department reports. I will start those off. Any questions, please advise. First off, CO report. Recreation report. Economic development report. Engineering and public works report. Treatment facilities report. Facilities management reports. Planning department reports. HR department reports. Fire department reports. Administrative service reports. And finance department report. No questions whatsoever. All right, no motion required. Moving on to mayor and councilor reports. Councilor Rumford, can you start us off, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the meetings I was able to attend, and hope everybody has a great spring to start. I really got nothing.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all the meetings I was required to attend. Really nothing to report. All seems to be going well.
All right, thank you. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all the meetings that I was required to, as well as the No Frills grand opening last week and the evening session of Coffee with Council.
All right, thank you. Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I very seldom make a mistake, but I did just a little while ago. I said Coaldale Hub. It's at the Coaldale Plaza. You know, that new building there on Main Street there? That's where the all-council meeting. Yeah, it's the new all-council meeting is next week. Anyway, Mr. Mayor, I got nothing to report except that I attended the Handy Bus Association Annual General Meeting, and new bus will be ordered. It's very, very expensive. 15-month lag time to get the darn thing. It's looking at around $248,000, which was quite considerably higher than we thought, but that's the way it is. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended all the meetings that I was required to, and I don't have anything else to report. Sorry.
All right, thank you. I attended a variety of meetings, document and check sign requirements as well. I did one media interview with the Tabor Times with Megan and Amy for the upcoming 120th birthday celebration. Also attended the Tabor Museum Board meeting, as well as the Tango Annual Fundraiser event at the Civic Center. Also attended a Dr. Hammond visit with Mr. Chris Ward and his grade 4 class. I attended and participated in the second annual Tabor Titans Food Bank Hockey Game fundraiser event. Also attended the Eagle Spirit Nest annual general meeting. I attended and participated in the annual Teacher Students Hockey Game Challenge. Also attended the Snacks and Ladders business with the My City Care Awareness Day, and attended Grant Hunter's invite for Mrs. Yanni de Vlieger and the King's Coronation Medal. Also attended the Arts and Heritage meeting related to the swearing-in requirements for a new member. I attended and participated in the Clearview Lodge sing-along event under invite from Mr. Laurent Torrey and friends. I also attended the No Frills grand opening event And I attended the St. Mary's School Host Provincial Basketball Tournament, as well as the Coffee with the Councils. We also attended the new business visits, several different new businesses here in the last couple of weeks. I did also attend Mr. Bud Van Cleve's 95th birthday, hosted by the Royal Hotel, and Councillor Renford's was also in attendance. And that was a full house and a lot of fun. I did also attend the annual 50th anniversary of the Tabor Old Timers Fading Suns Hockey Tournament fundraiser event as well. That was very well attended. 13 teams participated and very well attended, very well received. So that would be my report. If there's any questions, seeing none, no motion required. On to item 711, standing item council requests. Mr. Munshaw.
Well, it's been a long council meeting, guys. Thank you very much. So to wrap it up, we only have the 3 items in for you at this point in time. All are in progress. The first one being Councillor Renford's stairs and railings going down, which is included into the grant area that we know that they're pushing forward. Councillor Bruin's the light or the pedestrian walk area that is still working on through administration to identify process. And then Councillor Firth's area as well for handicap accessibility. That is well going forward with the grant application, and those will be up there for a while and opening to any new additions.
All right, any new standing item council requests whatsoever? All right, no? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This isn't really standing item, but I feel that I should wish Mr. Bud Van Cleve a very happy 95th birthday. Being I was unable to attend his events because I had a memorial I had to attend in High River. So, but congratulations, Bud. Can't wait for next year.
All right, thank you. Nothing else? That's got her covered. All right, good. Get a late load for that this time. No delegations. Any media inquiries?
No, Mayor.
None whatsoever. All right. Just ask no closed session today. Just ask for a motion to close the meeting. Councillor Becker, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.